Dawn Montefusco, and this is Write from Your Heart, how to unleash your creativity, share your message, and leave a lasting legacy. And today, I have an amazing woman with me, Shelley Hitz. She's an author, coach, artist, and Christian entrepreneur. Shelley Hitz is on a mission to help you reach more people with your message. She believes every person has God-given gifts and abilities to impact the world. Therefore, she encourages you to let your light shine. Shelley was first paid for her writing in 5th grade after winning a nonfiction writing contest. Little did she know she would resign from her 12-year career as a physical therapist over 20 years later to write and coach authors full-time. She's the owner of Author Audience Academy and TrainingAuthors.com, with a passion to help authors succeed in writing, publishing, and marketing their books. Thousands of authors have been coached through her books, training programs, online events, seminars, and more. She has over a decade of experience speaking to groups of all sizes, from small workshops to keynote presentations in front of thousands. And she teaches from her personal experience, not theory. She's been writing and publishing books since 2008 and has personally authored over 40 books, including print, ebook, and audiobook formats. And we have all her information on this page. Hi, Shelley.
Hi, Dawn.
So good to see you again.
Yes, it's great to be here.
Tell us what you're up to these days. You're doing some cool stuff. What's going on?
Yeah, it's been amazing. A little over 2 years ago, I was writing a book called Broken Crayons Still Color, and it was, the adult coloring book trend was so hot at that time and popular, and I thought, oh, this is the perfect book to include coloring book pages. And so I was looking for someone to hire, and I just sensed God say, you do it. And I'm like, me? I'm not creative. I'm not artistic. I can't do any of this. And I just couldn't shake it. And I just started researching, and I started researching lettering and, just doing designs and sketching. And I sat down, did my first one. I ended up illustrating 7 coloring book pages for that book. And the rest is really history. Not only now am I writing and publishing and coaching authors, but I'm also doing the same thing for artists. I'm an artist myself. I have a thriving art business. I sell my originals and my prints, but I'm also coaching and mentoring artists to start businesses. So it's just been this crazy thing that was just originated, I really believe, from God, of just getting me to write that, or sit down and draw that first coloring book page, and I just got hooked. And so it's been really fun. It's been an interesting twist of events for sure.
I love it. How did all this unfold? You're a writer, you're a business coach, you're an artist. What guides you? I know God guides you. Do you get these hits in prayer, or do you just trust, yourself and God sort of guides you in the process?
It's been a really gradual journey for sure. I started my online business in 2004, just making websites and having online trainings and products and things like that. And it was 2011, 7 years later, that I then quit my physical therapy job. So this has been a long time coming. It's it wasn't just okay, I decided to just do this one day. But, I was doing both. I was a physical therapist, and I was writing and doing my websites and doing my online business, taking a lot of trainings, learning a lot about business, about online marketing at the same time. And I published my first book in 2008, and that was more to have a resource while I was speaking. And so my husband and I would speak to youth, and I just thought, man, I need a resource. And so wrote my first book, and then, it's just one little step at a time. And like I said, art came into my life a couple years ago. And again, I'm just taking one step, and it's one door keeps opening after another, after another, after another. You kind of just, I have 90-day plans. So I always plan my goals in 90 days. And then I just see, where is this going to take me to the next step and the next step? I honestly don't have a 5-year plan because I have no idea.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You're such an inspiration. One of the things that I love about you and watching you unfold and grow and evolve is that you really embrace your creativity, whether it's creating websites, whether it's creating business, whether it's creating books, and now creating art. And I firmly believe that when we tap into our creativity, we're really tapping into what God has brought us here to do. That we're all artists, we're all we all have something inside of us that we can create in different ways. But specifically, you know, we're little, we create all the time. We play and we're not shy. What, you know, how do you feel about that in terms of watching people unfold? I'm sure you've seen people in your courses, and, you know, how much better do they feel when they're being more creative?
It's amazing, really. Like I've been a writer now for many years, over a decade. But when I started integrating even other forms of creativity, so for you, it could be music, it could be cooking, it could be so many other different forms of creativity. But for me, it was like my left brain and my right brain began to talk. And there was like an explosion. Like I'm a creative, like you said, I'm a creator, I'm a creative person. But when I added this additional layer of creativity, there was like this explosion of creativity, because I really believe, like, you know, the art and the music and all of these creative things, even creative writing, you know, it really activates the right side of your brain. And when you have both sides flowing and talking to each other and working together, it only makes everything else better. Like it only makes everything else that you're doing better, because everything is working together. But for me personally, I found that art was a form of self-care that I didn't even know I needed.
Wow.
And it really filled me with such joy and peace. And it's very meditative and just colorful. And it just really brought such healing for me, just because I can be a very driven person. And so it really it just did so much for me personally on that level. And then of course I had to turn it into a business too.
Horrible. I love what you're doing with tell us more about the art you're doing, because you actually use words in a lot of what you're doing.
I do. Yeah. I always tell people I'm a word person. So everything I do I'm a communicator, and so everything does tie together, you know, my speaking, my books, my art, and I'm a lettering artist. So what that means is kind of like calligraphy, but I use a modern form of lettering and calligraphy, which is not as rigid and strict as traditional copperplate calligraphy would be. And so you can create your own styles, and you can, you know, use it to then letter words. And then I use it with watercolor backgrounds and paintings. So I integrate painting with those words and with the encouragement and the things that naturally already flow from me. But it's just been really fun. And I started an Instagram account, it was almost 2 years ago exactly, and just for my art, Your Creative Adventure. And so it's so fun to scroll back and see the progress and the journey that I've been on. But also God just uses that in a really neat way to just encourage people with my captions and my art in just a different way. So yeah, words is definitely part of everything that I do.
That's fantastic. You know, you've written a lot of books, and I'm curious now with the title of the show, you know, right from your heart.
Yeah.
Have there been some books, or, you know, I know that some of the writers I work with, and myself included, sometimes I get caught in the I shoulds. Oh, I should really write this particular book. And then there's the book that wants to just come out, and I
Yeah.
shy away from it. What's the power in writing from the heart? You know, from the wants, you know?
Yeah, I think when you are writing from that should side, it's more of a place of comparison, or like looking at someone else and saying, okay, like they write this way and they're successful, so maybe I should write that way. And I always tell everyone, you know, don't shove a round peg into a square hole. So you are uniquely you. You have unique stories, you have unique gifts and talents, and a unique way that you write or that you paint or whatever it is that you do. And so that's where, you know, just really allowing yourself to embrace the writer that you are. And I remember hearing from a writer one time, she's like, you know, everyone told me I couldn't write the type of writing that I had on my heart because there was no genre for it. There was no box for it, but she just wrote it anyways. And she almost created her own little following, and she's been very successful. She created her own little niche, but you know, sometimes you know, even go against what the marketing experts tell you, but you know, and I think you write your best when you write from that place in your heart, and you're not trying so hard, you know, when you're trying so hard to be something. And then when you're just allowing that flow, that creative flow, and not to get blocked with all of that those shoulds and comparison and perfectionism that often gets in the way.
I feel like there's such a trust that comes with writing from the heart. Like you just have to
Mm,
trust the process. You know,
yeah.
it reminds me, I mean, to me, there's a strange little parallel universe in terms of trusting your heart in art and then trusting your heart with prayer. Like for those of us that sometimes I think I struggled for years with my faith and then finally landed in it when I just surrendered and said,
Yeah.
I get it. We're on the
Mhm.
same team. Like you're helping me,
Yeah.
wow. But I feel like with when there's a very spiritual aspect to
Mm.
writing from the heart or art. Like any of those creative flows just feel very spiritual to me. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you said about surrender. My mom is a counselor, and she always said that every major turning point will start in our life will start with a surrender. And so I think that's really key in our writing too. Like,
Yeah.
what is it that you need to surrender? Like, is there some fears or perfectionism or comparison? What are the things that may be holding you back? But yeah, I definitely think it's very spiritual. And, when we really tap into that part of who we are, it's almost like I was talking about the right and the left brain connecting. The spiritual side, God often, like, I feel like he flows and talks to us more in that right side of our brain. And
Yeah.
so I think that when we really connect and holistically as a person, we're not just compartmentalizing and say, okay, this is my writing life. But when we're our whole person and we're integrating everything of who we are, it just really comes through, and people can relate to it. They can see that. And I really try to write with authenticity. I share my highs and my lows. I don't share always when I'm right in the middle of something if it's not resolved. Like one of my friends used to say, share your testimony, like when you've gotten to the other side, when you have hope to share, all of that. She's like, don't share the moany, like when you're in the middle, the moany. But I just try to share authentically and be real, and I think people really appreciate that. But I also share some things, and I share about my faith, and so anyways, I think it's just a powerful synergy, that can happen.
How does creativity and art, I love this, I love asking this,
Oh yeah.
help your business? I mean, it really does, right? Like you being more creative and artistic, how does that help the left side of the brain when you're in your business?
Yeah, so there is a thing called creative problem solving, and the people who are the best problem solvers tend to be the people who are, really highly creative. And I read a book recently, I can't think of the title right this moment, but they were talking about why like right brain people are going to like basically rule the world. And, it was basically that it's because we need right now, there's so much competition. There's so many, there's so much going on. We need creative solutions. We need like a creative way to market even our businesses and come about it in a unique way. And that creative problem solving will really come into play in every aspect of your business. And so like I said, I just believe it's made me better in every area of my life as I've just allowed myself the freedom to play, the freedom to explore my creativity. And whether, that for you, that's writing or something else, I really think you're going to see a benefit of just allowing yourself that freedom to create.
No, I agree. There's a friend of mine who was a client, now he's a friend, but he's got businesses everywhere. He's a multimillionaire, and his house is full of watercolors with poetry, and he's now writing poetry. I said, you should try poetry. I was just going to say to you, by the way, I was playing the next. You're going to start writing poetry. I'm sure you. Or songs. Don't give her an instrument. She's going to start. Really good. I love it. It's like a Renaissance woman feeling, And I think it's a big win for the creative world because I feel like it's been years, and a lot of us have been very suffocated by this left-brained
Dominant world.
dominant world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's I used to call poetry my church long time.
Oh.
I was really into it.
Yeah.
And I used to go to church, all the hymns and, the way the spiritual texts were written, there was, you know, interpretations, you know, that,
Mhm.
and I used to think of it as poetry, because when I would read poetry when I was little, there was like interpretations.
Yeah.
So in terms of writing, what do you do when you get stuck? I love this question. What happens when you get stuck?
Yeah.
You're like, do you that now? Do you turn to a different art? Do you go for a walk? Do you pray? What do you do when you get stuck?
I think it's just different for everyone. So sometimes I will just go back to, like brainstorming, or like I say, a brain dump of like, okay, now what is it that I'm trying to write? What is it that I'm wanting to write? Sometimes I'll just take a break and, start again tomorrow. But yeah, like taking a walk, they say, I think it was Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way. She's like, take a walk every day. And she said, when you take a walk, you'll get some of your best ideas, which that's totally been my experience,
Wow.
because my husband's like, he's a runner and a running coach. And he's like, Shelley, you're getting your blood flow to your brain. You're creating space where you're not doing anything else. And so I always have my phone so I can jot things down, because I get my best ideas when I'm out on runs or walks. And
Yeah.
but I lead in-person writing retreats here in Colorado. And one year I had a writer that very much, she's a creative. So, I mean, everyone's different, but for her, she was stuck, and she took out her watercolor paints and she just started painting. As she was painting, the story came to her that she forgot to include in her introduction. That was like the crux of the whole book. And she's like, Shelley, I couldn't believe I left that story out. But she got unstuck and, got the inspiration for what she needed to write by just taking a break and doing something else. And so, yeah, I think there's so many ways, but sometimes, and I know people don't like to hear this, but sometimes we just need to press through.
Yes.
So, sometimes you just need to keep writing and just write whatever, and even if you have to edit out most of it, and even if a lot of that first draft is not going to be in your published final draft, that's okay. Sometimes we just need to get that first draft out. So I use the Pomodoro method, the 25 minutes writing, 5 minutes break, and I'll really just press through sometimes, even when I don't want to, because I know I need to. And usually once I get going, and once you get, the flow, then it starts to flow again if I just force myself to get started.
Mm-hmm. Tell us more. So the Pomodoro method, from what I remember, it's 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. There's no like a 90-minute break in there or something?
You do that for 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
So you do the 25 minutes, 5 minutes for 4 times for 2 hours. And then you take at least a half an hour break. So your brain needs that longer break when you've been pressing and during the Pomodoro, I turn off all notifications. I put my phone in another room. I'm not on Facebook or email. I'm not checking in. And during the 5-minute breaks, you can do that. But during the 25 minutes, you tell your brain you have a deadline, 25 minutes. This is your task. I also like having an outline. That really helps to prevent a lot of writer's block, because you always know what's coming next. Like, so even people who are pantsters, fly by the seat of your pants, even if you have like a general outline of what the next section you're going to write. Maybe you haven't outlined your whole book, but just outline the next section, and that really gives you, then it's almost like signposts, like, okay, this is my next place. This is my next place. And really helps you just keep going, when if you're just staring at the blank page, it's easy to get stuck.
Yeah, you're great. Everyone go to her website, because Shelley, you've got so many great resources, so much information. It's beautiful too. It looks really pretty. And you also have a great free gift for us.
I do. Yeah, it's a training. It's called 3 Proven Book Writing Formulas Every Nonfiction Author Needs to Know. And in that training, I will actually walk you through an outlining process. So I will walk you through kind of just a basic outline of how to get started, how to write your book, how to pick a book topic. And it's a take action training. So by the end, you'll have an outline ready and a plan of action of how to go about writing. And whether or not you want to write a book or you just want to write, I think the training will be really helpful for you.
Thank you so much. You really do offer just so much information, and it's you always give. That's one thing I love about you. When you learn something, when you obviously, as you grow, you help others grow around you.
Yes.
So thanks so much for this and taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dawn. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you have a great time. Keep painting. I'll follow you on social media and everyone stalk her. She's great. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.